What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Fireluke-Mesh. So the random question of the day is, do you guys feel like the nicotine levels for nic salt-based e-liquids should be standardized? You know how we have 0, 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 for the regular nicotine juices? Because nowadays we have so many different random ones like 25, 35, 45, 50, etc. I personally believe that they should have some sort of semblance of a system with those liquids. I feel like 15, 25, and 45 would be a good combination for those, just because for me personally, I really could use a lower strength than 25, and I still want to use them in my sort of pod systems and that kind of thing. But let me know what you guys think. Just drop a comment right down there in the box below. So the device we're going to be taking a look at today is the Fireluke-Mesh Sub-Ohm Tank from a company called Freemax-Vapor, care of heavensgifts.com. Thank you so much, Heaven's Gifts, for sending this my way for the purpose of making this video. And this one is a mesh coil-based sub-ohm tank, which is absolutely brilliant in my opinion. I really just fell in love with this since day one, and I gotta say, the flavor on this thing is absolutely banging. So taking a quick look online, this device comes in a variety of different colors in 3 different styles. So first up, we have the carbon fiber edition, which comes in black, blue, purple, and silver. Then we have the resin edition, which comes in black, blue, purple, and red. And finally, we have the stainless steel edition, which comes in black, blue, gold, rainbow, gunmetal, and silver. So a whole hell of a lot of options there. So you can match it up with absolutely any device that you're planning on putting it on. And with that, it's going to run you about the $30 mark. I've seen it for as low as around 28 and as much as around 32. So let's just split the difference there and call it around the $30 mark overall. And with that, of course, I'll leave a link right down there in the description below if you guys want to grab one for yourself. But without further ado, let's dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got the Fireluke-Mesh in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging and then we'll talk about what's inside. So first and foremost, it comes in this lovely display box, as you can see here. You can see the tank right from the outside, which is great. Freemax is in a silver emboss. Fireluke-Mesh is in a Microsoft Word font or something like that. On the bottom, Fireluke-Mesh. On the top, Fireluke-Mesh. On the side, Freemax with the scratch-off authentication. And the other side, the same thing there. On the back, we have some pertinent information. We have some specs, what the kit includes, some warnings, our color indication, company information, and some more warnings right there at the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we get inside the box here. First and foremost, we have the Fireluke-Mesh-Tank itself. We'll be taking a look at that in just a second here. Underneath this little flap here, let's see if we can get it off. There we go. We have a spare coil. This is a black sort of anodized looking coil. It's a 0.15, good between 40 to 90 watts. There you go. We have a little packet of silica gel, you know, just to keep that tank good and fresh. We have some spare O-rings. I mean, that's pretty much standard operating procedure nowadays. And last but not least, we have a nice spare piece of glass just in case you break yours. Alright guys, let's talk about the specs. First of all, it's 24 millimeters in diameter. It holds 3 mils of juice, superior stainless steel construction, unique mesh-inspired design, Pyrex glass reinforcement, Fireluke-Mesh coil system, 0.15 ohm mesh coils rated for 40 to 90 watts, convenient threaded top fill design, dual bottom airflow control with 16 millimeter by 2.5 millimeter air slots. It comes with a 13 millimeter wide bore drip tip, and it has a gold-plated 510 connection. Alright guys, let's take a closer look at the Fireluke-Mesh, starting off with the drip tip. So this is an 810 wide bore drip tip made of metal. As you can see, it matches the rest of the body there with that little mesh pattern to it. Let's take a look at the bore real quick. As you can see, nice and wide bore. And at the bottom here, we have 2 O-rings that hold it nice and snug in place. No complaints about this one, although I really have not used it because, as you guys know, I really can't stand metal tips. So instead, I use a Dead Rabbit tip. As you can see here, I have a Dead Rabbit 810 tip, and just to prove to you guys that it is in fact 810, we'll just pop this into place just like that, and nice and snug, no complaints, fits beautifully, feels great, and honestly, this is my preferred tip when I'm using this thing. So next up, let's just go ahead and take off this top cap section, and I'll show you something interesting about it. Hopefully you guys can see the 2 little notches cut out right there next to the threads. Those actually let air escape when you fill this thing up and tighten that top cap section back down onto the tank. It actually lets air escape through there so that you don't add pressure to it, and that's great because it doesn't actually push push juice out through the coil and cause a big old mess. So as you can see here, it has very generously sized fill holes, which is great because the juice capacity is on the lower side, coming in at 3 mils. I tend to fill this thing about 4 times a day, so just get used to filling this thing up a whole bunch, but otherwise it's very easy to fill. So this is the same exact coil that came pre-installed in the tank, and I have been using this quite a bit for about a month now, and with that, I think it's holding up really well. It's not super gunky. You can even see the mesh on the inside section there. Hopefully you guys can see that, and still holding up really, really nicely. I'm probably still going to get another week or 2 out of it. So another really cool thing about this tank is the large flat contact pins in the bottom of both the tank and on the coil, which make a really good connection. I've never had any short warnings or any no coil warnings with this thing whatsoever, and I feel like that has a lot to do with the flat contacts. So the airflow section at the bottom of the tank is very generous and fully adjustable. It also has a little stopper pin in there which prevents the airflow control ring from spinning all the way around. Nothing too special on the bottom of the tank except for the Freemax logo, serial number, and the gold-plated 510 pin. So that's pretty much all I've got in this little close-up section here. Let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of the video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this device, some pros, some cons, and whether or not it's worth purchasing. Starting off today with the pros, and my first pro is that you get amazing flavor with this one. Honestly, the flavor reproduction I get off of this thing is absolutely amazing. Now typically, I'm not a huge sub-ohm tank fan, but with this one here, I fell in love since day one. Since the first time I primed the coil and filled the tank to now, I get really, really good flavor reproduction. It's very pure tasting. You don't get any sort of coil or cotton taste whatsoever, and I'm really, really happy with the performance. My second pro today is that the coils for this thing last a very long time. Now, I'm still using the original pre-installed coil that came with this device. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now with Blaz, and honestly, the coil is still going strong. I'm probably going to go through another 60 mil of Blaz with this thing here before I call it quits on this particular coil. So as far as that goes, I could definitely see this thing really lasting you guys a long time with your liquids out there. Obviously, I have many devices and many setups, so I'm not using this one 100% of the time, but I will solidly say that you should be able to at least get a full 60 mil of juice through this one coil before it burns out. My third pro for this one is the look and the feel. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. I have the black metal version, as you guys saw in the close-ups. It has that sort of grid pattern to it, which doesn't do anything performance-wise, but it just gives it that nice, classy, sort of different sort of style to it, which I really like. And as far as the feeling is concerned, this thing is rock solid. All the threads are really nice on it. Everything goes together nice and snug, and it just feels like a nice, solidly built piece of machinery. My fourth pro today is that it takes 810 tips. Now, I'm really thankful for this fact because, personally, I can't stand the tip that comes with it, but we'll talk about that in just a second. I have the Dead Rabbit tip on top of here, which is that nice bright green color, which kind of matches this RX2 21700 from Wismec. And with that, it'll take any old 810 tip that you got lying around, so if you have a certain style in mind and you have a tip that'll match your mod, that's absolutely perfect. It's going to work no problem. And my fifth and final pro for this one is that it's a sleeper. It may not look like much, but do not underestimate this tank. Right now I've got it set to 80 watts and it's performing beautifully. No dry hitting issues whatsoever, and I'm even tempted to bring it all the way up to 90 watts just to see what happens here because it still feels a little bit throttled. I feel like I could get a little bit more out of this thing and not have any issues whatsoever. But with that, at 80 watts, it definitely is an all-day, everyday sort of tank. Alright guys, so moving on to the cons, my first con is it comes with a metal tip. Now this is going to depend on which style you choose obviously, but the one I have here came with a metal drip tip, which I absolutely can't stand. Most of you guys that have been watching my channel for some time know that I really do not like metal tips, so this is going to vary depending on who you are. It's a bit of a subjective con, but at the end of the day, I really just wish they would have went with an acrylic or a Delrin drip tip included in the box. My second con today is the low juice capacity. This thing holds 3 mils of juice, which in my opinion is a little bit on the lower side. I've said this time and time again, I really wish the industry standard was 5 mils for sub-ohm tanks, just because I tend to have to fill this thing about 4 or 5 times a day when I'm really using it. But with that, I mean, I will take that hit if it means really good performance. My third con for this one is the airflow is loud. Now, it's not so much turbulent as it is loud. It's just audible. You can really hear this thing from a mile away if someone's having a good rip on it. Personally, I like the airflow wide open, and when you have it set like that, it is just super duper loud. I'll give you an example. I'll put this thing right next to the mic. You can hear it for yourself. Yeah, so this is not going to be the most discreet tank in the world. If you're walking down the street ripping on this thing, people are probably going to stare at you because this thing is absolutely annoying how loud it is. And my fourth and final con is something that might not affect you guys out there depending on which style you choose, but with this particular version, I have the black one as you guys have seen, and this one has a black atomizer. Now, the other atomizer that's in the box is also black, and the replacements for those are stainless steel. So for the first two atomizers that you get right out of the box, it's going to look pretty cool and badass with all blacked out inside the tank there. And then when you go to purchase those atomizers, you're going to get stainless steel ones, which might not look as cool. So very subjective, very pointless, very kind of stupid complaint. But I do have to mention that because it is kind of an issue. So at the end of the day, is this device worth purchasing? Would I go out of my way to pick one of these up if I didn't get this one in for a review? And I'm going to say yes to this one, especially if I got to choose a different style. Personally, I would probably go for the acrylic swirl over the metal version, but I just feel like the pros outweigh the cons with this one here. It's definitely worth a try, and I really look forward to other companies kind of copycatting this one a little bit just to see what they come up with, because personally, I feel like the mesh platform is still in its infancy. I am definitely giving it a shot, especially after trying the Fireluke Mesh. So if you guys want to try one out for yourself, I'll have a link right down there in the description below. Once again, big shout out to Heaven's Gifts for giving this to me for the purpose of making this video. But that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Don't forget to click that notification bell right next to the subscribe button if you want to be alerted whenever I upload videos. Also, leave me some comments in the box below. I'd love to hear your thoughts all about Mesh, the Fireluke Mesh, or anything else you guys want to discuss down there. Also, check out the advocacy and my social media links right down there in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on. Bleh.